Welcome back. I am Slim the Kid. Thank you for tuning in to this brand new Round 2 Wrestling podcast here on the 26th of October, 2022. We are just 2 days away from Combat One Wrestling's premiere here in Waterford, Michigan. If you are in Southeast Michigan or Waterford to be specific, this Friday, October 28th, be sure to go to the Waterford Sportsplex and check out Combat One Pro Wrestling. I promise you it is worth your time. But we are not here to talk about Combat One too much. We are here to talk about pro wrestling rumors. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said MJF doesn't want to turn babyface. This is not surprising. MJF is the perfect quintessential heel and should almost never turn babyface, at least for a prolonged length of time. During his appearance on the Roman Atwood podcast, Goldberg said there are 2 months left on his WWE contract. Remember, these are rumors. We don't know if they're actually true or not. On his Grilling JR podcast, Jim Ross mentioned that Paul White recently had hip surgery and remains hopeful for a return to the ring in AEW. Through several media sources and news outlets, it has been said now for most of the summer that Paul White's next and final venture into a wrestling ring will be bringing his Captain Insano gimmick from the very popular 1990 movie Waterboy, where Paul White, aka The Big Show, aka The Giant, played another fictional wrestler by the name of Captain Insano, and Bobby Boucher, a.k.a. the Waterboy, that's his favorite wrestler. Fans have been clamoring for him to bring this particular character to reality ever since its perception, but he has yet to do so. However, in recent weeks and months, he has said and toyed with the idea of bringing Captain Insano to the wrestling ring. But whether or not that actually happens, we have yet to see. It seems indie promotion GCW has something going on with WWE, as the Observer says Joey Janela not only was plugging for people to watch Raw this week, also told everyone on the roster to do the same and promote Raw this week in their social media. Ringside News claims WWE originally planned to return to Saudi Arabia in February 2023, but that has now moved to May 2023. Chris Jericho has applied to trademark Ring of Jericho and The Ocho, says PW Insider. He's also applied for Chris Jericho's Blood Boat, which is likely related to his annual cruise. Fightful Select says the rumors of Becky Lynch returning from her injury early were unsubstantiated, and those in WWE Creative had said they're simply hoping she can be back by the end of 2022. After making his appearance on the brand this week, PW Insider reports that Shinsuke Nakamura will make additional appearances on NXT in the weeks ahead. Alright, that is the conclusion of the pro wrestling rumors going around in the world. Let's jump over to something a bit more real and a bit more factual. This is pro wrestling news. Alright, WWE is heading back to Europe for a house show tour in April 2023. It was announced today that WWE will return to the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, and France for a house show tour that will run through April 26th and 29th, 2023. Willow Nightingale is all elite. Tony Schiavone entered the ring and officially announced that Nightingale was all elite last Friday on AEW's Rampage. PCO is staying with Impact Wrestling. PCO confirmed he has signed a 1-year deal with the company through Pat Laprade of Lutte, Quebec. His new contract will run through October 31st, 2023. This is excellent news for Impact, as PCO brings quite a bit to the table, not only as a wrestler, but as a character. AEW and CM Punk are in talks to buy out the remaining years on his contract, according to Dave Meltzer in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. Meltzer said neither Punk nor AEW commented on or denied this particular story. Athena was cautioned by AEW not to work so stiff in the ring. It seems like there was an issue between Athena and Jody Threat, who worked in a match in Toronto as AEW rolled into Eastern Canada. AEW management spoke to Athena and Threat backstage after the match. It was reported that Threat slipped on where her comeback was to be, quote unquote, and became, quote, a little lost in the match. This was a cause of frustration for Athena because that's reportedly where the physicality was turned up. A follow-up on this particular match said and showed that no remorse or hard feelings between the two women wrestlers were felt at, during, or after this particular match. It just seems like a case of frustration and maybe a little bit of getting too carried away and too wrapped up in this particular match. I see AEW stepped in and squashed this immediately, and hopefully this will be the last time either one of these women are having to have this conversation with AEW management. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson returned to WWE earlier this month. A lot of questions regarding the tag team's current status with NJPW. Anderson, the promotion's never open-weight champion, that is New Japan Pro Wrestling, was set to defend that title at Battle Autumn on November 5th. WWE announced the OC and the Judgment Day will clash at Crown Jewel at the same time and date. Should Anderson decide to renege on his scheduled championship match, he will be required to vacate the Never Openweight Championship and return the title belt to New Japan Pro Wrestling, said a NJPW spokesperson. Alright, that is enough of the pro wrestling news that is going about the world. A little bit to talk about in Japan, a little bit to talk about here in the US, and a little bit of news in general to talk about. But like I said, we are done with the news, and we are going to move into the title matches and the results of those title matches from the past week. Alright, here we go. WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Io Sky and Dakota Kai defeated Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark defeated NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Katana Chance and Kaden Carter to become the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. However, due to an officiating error, the Women's NXT Tag Team title match restarted in the same evening. NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Katana Chance and Kaden Carter did in fact defeat Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark to retain the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, leaving Lyons and Stark frustrated beyond belief and looking on in disbelief as the current champions still walked away as the tag team champions. NXT Tag Team Champions Pretty Deadly defeated Edris and Enofo and Malik Blade to retain the NXT Tag Team titles. A ladder match took place for the vacant NXT North American title. Carmelo Hayes versus Oro Mensah versus Wes Lee versus Von Wagner versus Nathan Frazier. The winner and new NXT North American champion, Wes Lee. Unified NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose defeated Alba Fire to retain the NXT Women's Championship. Unified NXT Champion Braun Breaker defeated Ilya Dragunov and J.D. McDonough in a triple threat to retain the NXT World Championship. AEW World Tag Team Champions The Acclaim defeated the Varsity Athletes to retain the AEW Tag Team titles. FTW Champion Hook defeated Ari Daivari to retain the FTW Championship. AEW All-Atlantic Champion Orange Cassidy defeated Roosh and Dark Orders 10 in a triple threat match to retain the AEW All-Atlantic Championship. Heath and Rhino defeated Impact World Tag Team Champions The Kingdom to become new Impact World Tag Team Champions. AJ Kazana versus Jordan Clearwater for the vacated NWA World's Television Championship ended in a time limit draw, a very rare ending to a title match. Alright, that is the conclusion of the title matches that took place this past week and weekend. We are at the bottom end of this particular podcast. That is, we are about to wrap things up, but we are going to conclude Round 2 Wrestling with a fan favorite and my favorite, Did You Know? Did you know are little bits of information and facts about the wrestling world that you may or may not have known about. Ah, the wrestling bell, always good to hear. Did you know the historic Hart House was once a children's orphanage before legendary Stu Hart bought the property in 1951? Did you know Carl Doc Sarpalis, a pro wrestler and promoter, attained a medical degree in the 1920s and is credited for inventing blading in pro wrestling? Did you know the seating plan for SummerSlam in 1992 at Wembley Stadium was made to look like the Union Jack, the British national flag? If you don't believe me, Google images from what the seating arrangement for the 1992 SummerSlam event looked like, and tell me for yourself if you also don't think it looks exactly like the British national flag. Did you know in 1998, Mick Mankind Foley won the online polling to determine Time Magazine's Man of the Year award? Time decided to remove Mick Foley from winning due to not contributing enough to society to earn this distinction. The award was given to Ken Starr and then-President Bill Clinton instead. Did you know Bobby Lashley is the only wrestler to defeat Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Bill Goldberg? Did you know John Cena is the only person to main event WrestleMania, have the #1 movie at the box office, and have a platinum music album? Did you know the 2022 SummerSlam event was the first show since 2003 where every title was retained and none changed hands? Did you know the very first tag team match televised on British television occurred in September of 1963? The fabulous Royal brothers, Bert and Vic, defeated Alan Kolbeck and Ivan Pensakov. Did you know current New Japan wrestler Jeff Cobb was once the flag bearer for the country of Guam at the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens, Greece? All right, I am Slim the Kid, and that is the conclusion of this week's episode of Round 2 Wrestling. Once again, be sure to check out Combat One Wrestling in Waterford, Michigan, or on Facebook for tickets and information for bell time and card layout. Please tune in next week for a brand new episode of Round 2 Wrestling as I bring you more news, more rumors, and more results from the world of professional wrestling.